Hi, welcome. This is Kshitish. Did I get it right?
Not entirely.
Oh. Well, he's going to pronounce his name afterwards, and he's going to talk about delivering CloudStack across multiple availability zones.
Right.
Hit it.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to everyone sitting here. Good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where everyone is attending from. Right? So Dan almost got it right. It's Kshitish. Right? So a bit about me. This is the first time I'm presenting at a CloudStack conference, so it's a great experience and a pretty awesome moment for me. I'm a co-founder and I've been Chief Product Officer at IndiQus Technologies since 2017. Unlike most of you here, I'm neither from the tech side nor from the business side. I'm an industrial designer, and I have a lot of experience in design, UX, product management, and the likes. And other than that, I'm an ultra-distance trail and mountain athlete. I see a mountain, I like to climb it up. About the talk, this talk is going to give a slightly macro perspective. I've simplified it a lot for this presentation because these use cases that I'm going to present are not as simple as they look or sound. Right? And I'm going to be talking about one of the key use cases that we address in the telco segment. It's not billing, because usually what happens is whenever someone says service provider, the first thought that comes to your mind is billing. There are lots of awesome billing solutions out there, but what I'm going to talk about is like what comes a level below billing, right? Or above. And if time and demo gods permit, I'm going to just show a little bit of a demo setup as well. Right? So we're going to talk about availability zones. Right? Now, whenever you hear the word availability zone, these are the things that come to your mind. Google with their 100 plus, AWS with 84 plus, Azure again with 100 plus zones, availability zones. What they mean is any location that can be that a provider can service their customers from. It could be a geographical region, it could be a data center that is closer to the customers, it could be anything. Right? And this number is just growing, and this can hit double these numbers very soon. But then, and these are numbers which every service provider aspires to, right? Who would not want to be in a position where they're offering services or their portfolio from 20 plus, 30 plus AZs. But when you look at the reality, when you look at small service providers, right? They could be ISPs, they could be hosting companies, they could be small data center operators. This is a very typical setup for them. They have access to one region or one data center, and they would have bifurcated that into multiple basic, advanced, or some dedicated zones and all that. And such a setup they're using to offer cloud services to their local market or their customers. There's a very simple setup. You can just put CloudStack on top of it, put a billing solution or a CMP on top of it, and deliver a good user experience. And that's all they need to do. But then when you scale a bit up to a larger provider, which could be a telco, it could be a larger data center, or it could be some sort of a conglomerate, who's operating across countries and offering a regional cloud that way. These setups become not at all impossible, right? And there are lots of reasons why such setups exist, and I'll be going through one by one. So just to summarize this, it's very typical for a large operator to have operating services from two different regions. These could be geographically quite far apart, 700, 800 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers. One of these regions is probably being used as a DR site. The provider wants to monetize that site and offers a public cloud from that. There is a primary region where there is a public cloud. There is a mixed zone where addressing different market use cases through that. Right? So how do we get here? Right? What are the key drivers that result in a setup like this? Right? While it's very easy to say that, okay, this is probably not the best setup, or this is maybe not as efficient as it should be. But there are always certain drivers, and you build up to such situations. Right? So the most common use case for a large telco operating something like this is a public cloud. Right? So they want to have their own branded public cloud, and they want to offer that from two different regions, one basic, one advanced, something similar in the other one as well. Right? Now, in addition to this, they because they are addressing enterprise use cases, they're catering to enterprise customers. They do want to have a lot of distributor channels, sales channels activated. And for that, they might want to set up a parallel cloud using the same infrastructure and set it up as a white label cloud or a partner cloud or something like that. In addition to that, there could also be a use case, or there are other use cases where, again, catering to the enterprise segment, they want to dedicate a zone to one particular customer or to one segment of customers and leave the other zones open for, well, the non-dedicated people, right? And operate that as a public. So this becomes a mixed cloud of sorts. Then, because of localization and compliance requirements, they might want to have a zone or a setup that is dedicated for that purpose. Right? So these are the. So while these people start, So while these people start very small with simple setups, over time and as they also scale their operations, it somewhat becomes a very complicated setup. And yeah, it involves a lot of complex designs, and they need to differentiate themselves in the market, use this as a branding opportunity, and so on. Right? So what starts something like this for a small provider, as they scale, it becomes something like this. Right? There are multiple zones running, there are multiple cloud stacks running across these. Maybe one cloud stack is managing 2 zones. One zone is serving multiple cloud stacks. There's lots of those kind of combinations and permutations that occur. Right? Now with this as the backdrop, there are new challenges that arise. Right? So while in a very simple setup, it's easy to address billing, it's easy to address all these other challenges, business challenges. But in such a complicated setup and a complex architecture like this, these challenges kind of compound, and these challenges also scale up. For example, how do I build 2 cloud stacks that are powering, that are running behind one single brand, right? How do I create multiple brand channels? How do I activate my partners? How do I activate my resellers? How do I create catalogs and create pricing level differentiations? How do I differentiate, how do I use the same setup to attract different customer segments? How do I offer user experience? Just imagine this kind of a setup, which is very realistic, by the way. Just imagine this kind of a setup. One cloud is running on top of 2 cloud stacks, and you have to give access to 2 different interfaces for the end user, right? It's instant disaster. So this is, with this scenario, this is where we guys come in. This is where Epiculus has been built to exactly to handle use cases like this. So what we do is, in such, again, with this backdrop, we just set up Epiculus on top of it. And therefore, from here, we enable truly multi-availability zone clouds. So in this kind of a context, we are enabling through Epiculus, we are enabling things like billing, rating, business functions, support functions, user experiences, and stuff. Right? How have we done it? We've just kept it simple, right? So while CloudStack has regions, zones, clusters, etc., in order to address all these use cases across these kind of setups, we just kept it simple, and we define availability zones as unique combinations of a cloud stack zone, and a cluster. And using this kind of an approach, we have been able to address some pretty large use cases. So this is one of our customers. It's one of the largest data centers in India. They started with one region, they added one more region, they've added a 3rd region recently, and that's how their setup kept growing. And within each region, you can see there are multiple cloud stacks, there are multiple VPC zones, multiple EC zones, and they are running multiple cloud brands. One is their enterprise public cloud, then there is a government cloud that they're running, then there's a compliance cloud which is dedicated for compliance purposes. So in all, they're running about 8 availability zones right now. We'll be adding a few more across 3 cloud regions and across operating 3 different clouds. Right? So yeah, and all of this has been possible just because we took a very, very simplified approach. We took what CloudStack was offering, built up our layer on top, and this has been powering the use case. Right. So I have just 2-3 screens that I would like to show. So this is a similar setup that we have built in our labs. So there are 2 cloud stacks running from our labs, and then there is one cloud stack running in Sofia, which are good friends from store pool have given us access to. And there are two different Epiculuses that have been set up on top. Right? So as you can see, so this is one of the Epiculus setups, and this is another, all running on top of CloudStack. Right off the bat, you can see that there is a different branding element to both of them. There is a feeling that you're operating a very large cloud. So just like a DO or a Scaleway, so you as a cloud provider, you are able to offer multiple availability zones and services from multiple locations. Right? Going down, like you can have various differentiated offerings. You can create compute packs, families, etc. You can price them differently and address different market use cases, different enterprise segment use cases. Right? So this was the first Epiculus, which is running. So these two availability zones are running from our lab. This is from another lab of ours, and this is from the Sophia lab. Right? And this is a parallel Epiculus that is being set up, and it is actually just reusing one of the lab zones that we have created. Right? So coming back to this one, you can see that such kind of this is very simple, but such kind of complex designs can also be addressed using our system. Right? Yeah. So just before we close and start taking questions, we're from New Delhi. We manage clouds globally. We are operational in 17 countries right now. Epiculus is a 100% homegrown solution. We have built it from scratch, and we support integrations, features, lots of them, and we are proud members of the CloudStack community. Right. Right. Thank you. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Kshitish. Any questions? Are you sure?
Oh.
No, great talk and great to see what you guys are doing. So,
thanks,
are you using the region construct in this as well?
Not entirely, but we can use that also. Yeah.
So when you're so you're stitching together potentially just multiple availability zones. So when you're thinking about resiliency across your entire, say, a country construct, how do you develop that through your platform?
So our platform is designed to be resilient, like I mean, underneath CloudStack there is a high available. Everything is designed in HA, right? So that is built by design. Now, if there is a customer who wants to operate, let's say, a secondary site and offer backup or DR from there, so that site also replicates the entire setup is replicated there as well. And that is put in a power off state, and whenever we need it, we can just switch it up there. So we have tested that multiple times in India with primary and backup sites, and that has worked perfectly for us. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. So where is your dashboard running? Is it running on one of the main servers or on a separate server?
The setup that I showed?
The dashboard, yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
This is running from our lab. So this is our QA lab.
Oh, okay.
And this one is our demo setup. This is accessible publicly.
Okay.
So you can actually go to try.apiculus.io and sign up if you want to just take a look at this.
Thank you. One more question. So for the availability zones, are they using the same main server or separate main server? For the
okay. So
zones,
that's So this is if you have to break it down into simplest form, like this is what an availability zone in our system. Right? So this could be sitting on a single management server where you have within the same cloud stack you have two different zones, and both zones have two different types of clusters, something like that. So that makes it 4 availability zones. Or it could be a totally different cloud stack setup, far apart from the primary one. And there is a similar breakdown happening over there. So in that case, you have 4 over here, 4 over there, so that makes it 8 availability zones. So that's how we have. So it can work on a single management server as well. It can work across multiple as well.
Any more questions?
Anything online?
No, I checked nothing online. So can you show me? I have a question. Can you showed the demo environment? Can you show how this is an advantage for you, how to use the multiple zones in that demo environment, please?
Yeah, just I will need to connect to a few setups. Sorry. No. Okay, so I'll just answer this like this only. Right? So let's say I choose AZ4, right, as a user, or let me choose the simplest one. Oh, cool. So these two are running from the same cloud stack. These two zones are part of the same cloud stack, right? So if I so as an end user, it's an experience that I'm getting, but much like the popular public clouds, the good public clouds that are available, right? So for the end user, it's the experience that I have the option as a user. I have the option to choose whichever region is closest to me, just like I would have on a DigitalOcean or a Scaleway or even AWS, right? For a service provider, it is there are advantages operationally as well, and there are advantages from a branding perspective, from a UX perspective, because the same team that is managing one cloud stack is technically able to manage all the cloud regions as well, right? So from a support footprint point of view, if I can strategize my team structures, I can actually reduce a lot of cost in managing this kind of a grand setup, right? So that's the biggest advantage that such a setup can bring. Yeah. Yeah.
If there's no other questions, I have another one.
No?
So you have India and Bulgaria here.
Yeah.
Let's think of an extreme example. You have India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I'm from Pakistan. I want to deploy, but I want to make sure that it's in Pakistan and remains there. Is that a guarantee you can give with this system?
Yeah. So just like the Sofia VPC, this particular lab is residing in Bulgaria, in Sofia. Similarly, if you as a cloud provider want to set up a region in Pakistan, let's say Islamabad and New Delhi, so you will have a data center in Islamabad, and that service will be running off Islamabad, right? So any Pakistani citizen who comes and says that I want a service from Islamabad, it is guaranteed that that will stay within Islamabad. Yeah.
Including the fallback zone.
Yeah. But then it has to be strategized and built that way. It can't be that I'm sitting in New Delhi and calling a region Islamabad, right? That's not right? So there has to be a region in Islamabad first. There has to be a data center access over there. Yeah.
So if there are no more questions, please a hand of applause. Oh, there's a question. Yes.
Hi. Can you show the part of the HA between zones from the interface, if there?
That's not available in the interface. That part actually resides in the CloudStack and below. Okay. So that's not part of the interface, what the end user sees, right? So our entire system is built into 3 layers. One is what the end customer sees, end user sees, which is anyone who wants to use the cloud services. Then there is an admin backend for this, which is primarily used by business teams, product teams, etc., to configure their offerings, pricing, and things like that. The semi-technical and the commercial stuff. And then below that is the entire operational layer, where so the support teams use CloudStack, right? So they don't use our system to manage their infrastructure. They use CloudStack directly. Our system just sits on top of it and adds the business elements to that, right? So the HA, design, networking, everything is handled just like you would handle any CloudStack powered cloud. Yeah.
Another question here?
Yeah. Oh, there's one more.
I have one more question. Can you move a VM from a zone to another zone?
Shiv, can you answer that? No, we can't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also from the same team, and I had the technology side of this. So all CloudStack rules apply. We are not reinventing anything in CloudStack, right? So movement between zones that's not possible. Yeah. Okay. So what Kshitish was highlighting is, so you have one, let's say CloudStack catering to 2 zones. Okay. So using the same infrastructure, with one instance of Epiculus, you can cater to two separate deployments, like dev or lab, or maybe
something like that.
maybe you know one zone, one cloud stack is totally for VMware and premium. One is for general public, like VMware comes at a cost, right, for public cloud. So you can have a KVM and on the same cloud stack, but it'll appear as if they are two separate, clouds. That is one use case. The other is also possible where you have two, let's say one in the north of India, Delhi, and one in the extreme south, which is around 2,500 kilometers, 3,000 kilometers apart. There'll be two instances of CloudStack, but it will be presented as, both will be available in the same instance of of the software. That's what, right? So we have taken a conscious call as to not break anything in CloudStack.
Yeah.
Okay. We're terrified of Java, actually, So
It's easier to sit on top of CloudStack.
No offense meant.
Thank you. And maybe I've missed this, but do you have ability to run applications or different instances on virtual machines that are guaranteed to be started on different availability zones?
So this is, can it be? Not right.
It's a pretty interesting piece.
Yeah.
Lit a bulb right now.
It's on the Roma, I just heard.
No, it's not on the roadmap, but I'll sure take it up. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. But then, it's like an anti-affinity across zones, but it's not so straightforward. You'll need to, for it to work, the application A has to be really well designed for that. Then there has to be a GSLB or something like that, which takes care of that, right? And the database is not going to be an easy task. So the application also has to really support such an architecture. But that said, as a feature, like this is what we have, it may be a good idea to take this up.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you. Big hands of applause for
Thank you.
Kshitish.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everyone. And tomorrow we have a joint session with Storepool, so that'll also be fun.